speak to the vote that you cast to ratify the county's affordable housing settlement. And I'd like to know if you still stand by that vote today and how exactly the county ought to be proud about the situation degenerating to the point that the federal monitors had to get involved.
That was a vote, that was the toughest vote that I've taken in 12 years. That's a vote of leadership. That's a vote that, given the circumstance, I'm proud of that vote because we made it as good as possible. And sometimes in life and sometimes in Albany, there are going to be those kind of votes. The affordable housing issue came up because, unfortunately, the previous county executive and his administration did something wrong. And we were sued, and we lost in federal court 6 times. When a settlement came to the County Board of Legislators, it was a fait accompli. Take this settlement or fight it. If you take it, it's going to require $60.6 million. If you fight it, you could lose up to $540 million, $1 billion, half of these people's money. If you take it, 50 million of that 60 will go to workforce housing, not low-income housing, as my opponent would have you believe. Not based on quota, not based on the color of one's skin or nationality, but based simply on, do you have income? And it's $82,000. We are crying for workforce housing in this district. We have volunteer firefighters, we have teachers, we have store clerks that need this housing. I would not gamble and stand here proudly to say, given what was the choice that I had and what we were with, yes, I would not and still would never have voted for the $540 million gamble. We get workforce housing, and there are 31 communities that will be building as much as 750, and I worked to make sure that was the cap.
You answered the first half of my question about that midnight vote and whether you stand by it, but are we saying that it was strictly the county executive's job and oversight to make sure the problem didn't degenerate to the point where you had to choose between bad and worse?
The answer is yes. His planning department, he signed off on the certifications to HUD each and every year. But in his defense, 1,100 other counties did the same. Under the previous presidential administration, in annual reports, HUD checked off when we signed it and certified that in an AI, analysis of impediments, that we were looking at everything, including race and the like. When the new administration came in, they changed the standards. Similar to running down the street at 60 miles an hour, and in the middle of the night, they put up a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, and now suddenly you're guilty. The answer was yes. The rules were changed retroactively. We got caught. The county executive was, at that point, we had to do something about it, and as a legislature, we dealt with the best we could, and we turned lemons into lemonade for the people of Westchester County.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplowitz. Now, Mr. Ball, I know that you would have voted differently if given the chance. I've gleaned that from what you've spoken on the issue, but my question is a little bit different. In response to the lawsuit, you said the following on your website, hikeyourtaxesmike.net, of which I'm sure you're not a big fan, Mr. Kaplowitz. You wrote, Kaplowitz has also voted to use taxpayer money to build affordable housing in northern Westchester, with 200 units alone and slated for Somers that will recruit the nation's poorest and weakest to this quiet small town. And I want to focus on the last bit of language. The poorest and weakest. What do you mean by poorest and weakest?
Well, I mean, first, that's not a direct quote from me. It's from a website.
No, it's directly from the website.
It's from a website that is part of a political campaign that's being run separate from my campaign. But to get back to the issues, we've seen it.
With all due respect, I'd ask the audience here to just tone it down. Please, we have a lot to get to in this hour, so I'd ask, please, the audience.
And I'll very specifically say that I have never made a comment like that, either on the record, off the record, before an editorial board interview, or anything else. The larger issue about the $60 million unfunded mandate, and what we're seeing is a track record tonight. Well, he says, well, I'm running for state senate because it's Albany's fault that I had to raise taxes. He was budget chairman. He was the Sheldon Silver of White Plains. He could have either sent those tax dollars back to you in the form of tax relief or increased spending. He decided to increase spending by over $1 billion. He increased taxes each and every time that Andy Spano asked him to jump through that hoop. Now, on a federal affordable housing disaster, a low-income housing disaster, which does not provide workforce housing, and I will take you directly to that document.
But my question is, since you didn't get to cast a vote on it, sir, I'm not really asking how you would have voted that night. I think we're clear on that. I'm asking what was attached to a website, of which a phrase that you've used here.
Well, I can tell you,
again, are you condemning that language?
I can tell you right now that I would absolutely condemn that sentence, absolutely. And I'd be proud to do it, but at the same time, we have towns like Lewisboro, Bedford, Pound Ridge, Somers, and others that are now facing a $60 million unfunded mandate. We have the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee who's saying that he's going to eliminate the unfunded mandates in Albany, yet he rubber-stamped an unfunded mandate at the local level. And
I
directly,
promise you, we're going to get into more opportunities to talk about the differences between the candidacies, but let's move on.
On the workforce housing issue, if I can just follow up,
Yes.
because he had about a 3-minute tirade there. Excerpt from page 10. The county shall use all, and maybe you should have read the settlement. The county shall use all available means as appropriate to achieve these objectives. Ban local, in page 24, ban local residency requirements. So in that settlement, they are actually going to be marketing, using your taxpayer dollars, marketing to low-income individuals outside of Westchester County. And it also says, on the senior housing issue, no more than 25% of the affordable units shall be intended for occupancy by senior citizens, and those are also out of county. So when he talks about workforce housing for seniors, workforce housing or affordable housing for seniors, and workforce housing for firemen and cops, he's lying before the
But here's
camera
the thing,
tonight.
just so we go, no, guys, we've got to move on to a bunch of different issues. No, it's not. We're going to move on to the next question.
That's not
Karen, go
fair,
ahead.
and it's not correct, sir.